This is my 10 palette starter kit. Welcome to everyone watching today. Thank you so very much for joining me. Today I have my 10 palette starter kit for you. What if you are someone who's new to makeup, you are looking for eyeshadow palettes and you don't know where to start? Which 10 eyeshadow palettes would I recommend you can still get? First of all, these are all still available. I did have to check for a couple of them. That you can still buy and that I think is going to give you a full array of everything that you could possibly want an eyeshadow palette to do. For some of these things, I'm like, for the same brand and buying a different palette by the brand that suits your preferences better can work as well. So I will talk about a little bit about that as well as sort of discuss alternatives of things that might give you a similar look if those things exist as well. So I have my 10 picks here. These are favorites for me as well, so I did want to focus on that. But it's not as if these are like my top 10 favorite palettes of all time. It's close. I mean, a lot of the things I'm about to show you would be in that top 10 as well. But I also love a lot of eyeshadow palettes that are currently discontinued. So I really wanted to make sure that if you are looking to buy a new palette, or if you're starting your eyeshadow palette collection, and that's something you were looking for, that these are at least still for sale, or at least still listed on websites. That's what I checked for, so let me get to it. We of course need to start the list of 10 with my favorite neutral eyeshadow palettes. We are going to discuss a true neutral eyeshadow palette, a warm toned neutral eyeshadow palette, and a cool toned neutral eyeshadow palette. Do I feel you need all three? Maybe not, but if you've never tried a lot of eyeshadow, then I do think that these three things that I'm about to show you are not only going to give you those three different color stories to play with, but it's also going to give you a feel for different formulas if that's what you're looking for. So it's a great way to like test out a couple of different formulas. I again made sure that I have a couple of my favorite formulas in this list today as well. So you can see and test out, hey, do I like really impactful shades that have loads of pigmentation? Do I prefer something that's a bit more blendable and buildable? Or do I want things that can be layered really easily and just give me different looks that way? So I have different things from that perspective as well. And the first thing I need to show you is my favorite neutral palette of all time. That is a very bold claim coming from me, a lover of all things neutral eyeshadow palettes, but I think the Natasha Denona ID Nude is one of the best palettes ever made that is in my current makeup collection. Okay, I know. But I said it last year when I filmed my eyeshadow palette collection video, and I stand by it. A great alternative for this, now that it's permanent, is the Makeup by Mario Ethereal Eyes palette. I bought mine when it was still limited edition, which is why I don't discuss that palette any more often than I do. But now that it's been brought back, these color stories are very similar, okay? You could pick one or the other and be happy with it. It's going to come down to your preference for what formula you like best. But I feel both palettes not only have a very similar color story, we'll talk about the color story in a second, they also have the same sort of adaptability where it's almost like a painter's palette, and depending on how you put things together, and for instance with some of the shimmers, how you layer them is going to give a different look every single time. You can do that with the Makeup by Mario, and you can also do that with this. So in terms of giving you a very versatile neutral eyeshadow palette, I just think that these cannot be beat. And what I like about this one so much in particular is that it is such a neutral palette. It gives you a little bit of warmth, but there's also cool tones in here. So it sort of, in my brain, sits smack in the middle between a warm and a cool tone, because nothing ever goes completely into the warm tone direction and nothing ever goes completely into the cool tone direction. So in terms of a very universally flattering, I hate words like that, but I do think that this can be worn by a lot of different people. You do have to take into account that the Natasha Denona palettes tend to be quite like mid-tone heavy, so unless you're like deeper than a medium skin tone, I'm not sure whether this is going to be right. The Makeup by Mario may be better for you if you have medium to deep skin, because there are darker shades in that palette. But yeah, overall, I do think that this is just excellent and it can be worn by so many different people. You do get darker shades in here. There are darker shimmers. There is a deeper matte. But there are quite a lot of like lighter tones in here. So I think if you're light to medium, this is probably going to work best on you. However, these can be layered really easily. And if you use any sort of base, that is going to make your eyeshadow stand out as well. That is going to be helpful too. What I love about Natasha Denona eyeshadow palettes is the textures we get in here. Every single shade has a slightly different texture. Some of it is a bit more sparkly. Some of it is a little bit more satin. Some things have, well, they're not flaky, but they can be used like you would a flaky. And then there are some stunning matte formulas in here that are incredibly easy to work with and just very blendable. Do you need this big guy? Maybe not. You could also start off with one of the 5-pans that they do if you find this one too expensive. I think there is a 5-pan of the I Need a Nude, if I'm not mistaken. So you could go for that, but I like having options, and the fact that these are magnetic and you can take it out also means that if you're traveling and you have a little mini palette, you could take these out and take them with you very easily if you don't want to take the big guy with you. So loads of options, and I therefore think a great beginner palette, even though it is pricey. But I did want to make sure that there is a bit of affordable makeup here, because what if you were to buy all 10 of these in one go? I mean, you don't have to, of course. Please don't. But to keep it a little bit manageable, if these are your first 10 palettes, where do you invest? I wouldn't recommend going for super expensive makeup straight away. Going with something from Beauty Bay is just fine, and you'll find out that the Beauty Bay Smoky palette is one of the most pigment things in your makeup collection, and it's really not that expensive. So I'm not sure what these are going to currently retail for. I got mine together with a big guy at a discount, and it was like 25 euros for both palettes, with Beauty Bay like having gone under in February and now they're being brought back. I don't know whether the prices on their website are going to stay the same, but yeah. Beauty Bay is known for doing really excellent eyeshadow quality, but at a budget price point. So it's giving you lots of options. I've already mentioned in the past, you could also just go for the 42-pan one if you want. That's going to give you every single cool tone neutral on the planet. And this line also comes with warm tones and neutrals and colorful things. I mean, I think there are people out there who have just bought Beauty Bay eyeshadow palettes and that's their entire makeup collection. And you could potentially do everything. It is a very intense formula though. The mattes are incredibly pigmented, the shimmers are incredibly shiny. So depending on what you prefer and what goes with your coloring and with, for instance, your skin texture and those kind of things, this may not be the best for everyone, is what I'm trying to say. But these are, overall, compared to other things that I love, quite affordable, and therefore I did want to mention them. The Smoky one is my favorite one that I've tried from the brand. I've tried some of their limited edition things. I've tried their Pastels palette, where there were so many things that I just didn't love from the brand. But this is very consistent. All the shades are really excellent, and it's going to give you a very good, but not boring, cool toned color story. Once you start looking into cool tones, you'll find that every brand under the sun will just give you a gray palette and then they think they have covered the cool tones. Not Beauty Bay. There are grays in here. You can see there are these like purpley browns in here. We get some navies. This is a navy. This isn't even a brown or a gray. But this gray then has a blue undertone. We even get some things that have this like grayish taupey sort of vibe to it. In the 42 pan, you even get some things with a green undertone. It's excellent for giving you a full array of every single cool tone you could ever need in your life, which is why I think the Beauty Bay palettes are just such a good beginner-friendly option to start with, because not only do you get loads of options between like how many shades they give you, but you can also tailor it to what you need. A lot of their color stories come in a 9-pan, the 16-pan version, there's a 42-pan version. Depending on what you like and how you live your life, you can get a lot of like shadow for your money, you could say. So, and the quality is excellent. The third palette I want to show you is my warm tone pick. Now, warm tones are everywhere. So if you love warm tones, or if you know you have a warm undertone, or if you've done a color analysis and you know you fall into one of the warm seasons, 80% of all the makeup out there, maybe even more, is all warm tones. So you're not going to struggle finding a warm tone shadow. You're not. most of the things that most people recommend online, other channels, is going to be warm tones. So I'm a bit pickier when it comes to warm tones because I do tend to prefer more like neutral to cooler tone things because that just goes with my coloring a little bit better. But the Mahogany Garden palette from Romand is one of my favorites when it comes to a warm tone. This really, really put warm tones back on the map for me. For a while there, for like a good year or two, I wasn't like using a single warm tone shadow. And then I spotted this on the website. I had tried a couple of the other Better Than palettes from the range, and I wanted to test out more, and this looked really pretty. I was like, but it's warm toned. And it made me fall back in love with warm tones. Because it's not that I cannot wear a warm tone. I can wear a warm tone. I think most people can warm tones. You can wear whatever you like. But I definitely think that this really, really is very flattering. And I think the reason why I like this so much is because this is K-Beauty. K-Beauty isn't super pigmented. So this is going to give you the complete opposite type of formula compared to the Beauty Bay. That's why I featured this. But like I said, you can find so many good things that are warm tones that are like, this one comes in a warm tone version if you go for the I Need a Warm. There is the Glossgods Let's Get Nude. I think you can still buy the Nabla analog. Like every brand under the sun will have a warm tone. You can like pick any brand and they'll have excellent warm tones in. But this to me has always been super special. The reason why a lot of people don't like K-Beauty eyeshadow is because it's not very pigmented. And with the sort of development of online content and swatching becoming really, like the visual appeal of things on camera becoming more important almost than the quality of the product, has really put people into this rut of K-Beauty isn't good because it isn't pigmented. Pigmentation doesn't say anything about how good a product is. This may not be very pigmented, but depending on what you like, it's going to give you a very soft, blended look. And the shimmers you get in here are going to look really beautiful layered over it. It's why I love mine. This is effortless. It takes no, like, it just doesn't take up any brain space to try and use it. Whereas something like this that has incredibly pigmented shadows, you need to make sure you have the right brushes. You cannot just like whack them on and be out the door. Like, it takes a little bit more time and effort to make it look right. Whereas this is foolproof. If you've never done a lot of makeup, like putting this in the crease and just using this like glittery sort of shade with your finger all over, I mean, that's the look that you'll see a lot of like going on in Asian beauty promotion. It's just a matte in the crease and this very shimmery thing all over the lid to the point where you can still see it when the eye is open. And that's pretty much what they do. And then maybe they use a deeper shade or a liquid liner to accentuate their outer corner. That's all they tend to do. So that's also what this palette aims to do. It's not trying to give you the same thing as this does. So therefore, I think that this Romand palette is really good. It's really beginner friendly. If you're someone who just needs their hand held when they do their eyeshadow, I think these little K-Beauty palettes can be really good. Now, Romand palettes I tend to buy from YESSTYLE, which like there are other K-Beauty websites that you can use. It's just the one that I've used the most to shop for a lot of my Asian beauty like makeup and skincare and stuff. I do have a code with them, so if you want to get 5% off, I'll pop it up on the screen and it's always in the description box down below. But on there, these used to retail for like 15 euros, and some of these colorways now go like up to like 25. So I would definitely wait for YESSTYLE to do like 25% off your order before you look into these again, because inflation is really hitting this one. But yeah, these can be a little bit affordable. So with Romand, I do think it's good to try and shop around to see where you can get the best deal. But those are beautiful color stories. Speaking of a really good beginner-friendly formula, Viseart. I think Viseart is one of the easiest formulas to work with, but again, you're not going to get crazy levels of pigmentations. Don't worry, if you love your indie shadows or if that's what you're looking for, then I have some recommendations in that regard as well. but I also wanted to put a couple of more subtle things on the list, things that are easy to wear for every day. Remember, this list is a list of recommendations for people who are just getting started, who are trying to dip their toes in, and who are looking for the best things to buy. Viseart Cashmerie, it's going to give you something that all three of those palettes has, because a lot of Viseart palettes, you don't even have to go with this one in particular. It's any Viseart palette, really, save for maybe the Violette Étendue. But most of Viseart's palettes will have warm tones, neutrals, and cool tones all in the same palette. It's one of the reasons why I love my Cashmerie so much, and I love the one that I have with the little like fall sort of packaging as well. I think that was so fun when Viseart used to do that. And you can see the warmth here. There are some rosy tones in here. We've got the cool tones. We've got the neutrals. It gives you a little bit of everything. But here's the real kicker. The brilliancy of Viseart isn't just the amazing satiny formula that blends itself and looks amazing even if you have mature lids. It's not even that. It's the fact that all 12 of these colors go together, even though they don't all have the same undertone. One of my biggest gripes when I first started testing out eyeshadow palettes was that on me, with my skin tone and the way eyeshadow pulled, it didn't always look right. I couldn't always just like put any shade together and it look okay. It's like, you know, color theory. You had to put a little bit of brain space into it to like decide what colors in the palette go together. This one, it doesn't matter what you do. You can use this as quads, you can use it as a trio, you can like go row by row, you can use it this way, you can even go across and it will work. Like no matter what you put together, anything you pull out of this palette is going to look amazing. And I love the shimmer formula from Viseart. I think in here you get 1, 2, 3, 4. You get 4 mattes and everything else has a shimmer. But this is not like the Beauty Bay where it's like super impactful, high impact shimmers. You can already see in the flash when I hold it up to the lighting that it's a subtle shimmer. It's not going to be boom kapow. There's not going to be any fallout. It's going to stay on your lids. It's still going to look shiny by the end of the day. I've worn Viseart eyeshadow for years, and I'm a teacher. In my day-to-day life, I move my face a lot. I walk around a lot. I'm very active in my working day, and with Viseart, never any sort of creasing. It always stays put. It goes for everything here, but the more intense your formula, the more likely it's going to crease, and you need to put in a little bit of extra work to make it like last longer on your lids. With Viseart, if I had to pick a brand where I feel like you could use it even without a primer, it would be Viseart, and it would still look great. Maybe not as intense, but it would still look great. Just saying. Now, if you do want the intensity, again, you don't need this palette in particular. This brand does loads of them, but looking into C Beauty to get impactful eyeshadow in unique color stories that do not break the bank, I would highly recommend. This was my first Cheeryep palette. This is the Fleeting Life. It was their collab with Freya. I thought it was going to be a limited edition, but it's not. It's still available. You can still buy this. But this is just such a beautiful palette. It's a little bit more grungy, darker, more muted, and moody, you could say. There are some interesting shades here. We have our first holographic multi-chrome of the list. Some other interesting shimmers in here. This is one of the more expensive palettes that Cheeryep does, mainly because of those special shimmers that it has. Oh, by the way, it has one of the most impactful blacks of your lifetime. Come on. But yeah, this is just a beautiful palette. And just know that, especially on YESSTYLE, these palettes do retail for different price points, and they're often on sale. So you can find the color story that you like best, and you can try that. There are loads of other C Beauty brands. I'm still sort of in the midst of testing some of them out, but I think Cheeryep, there's a reason why I have 5 of these palettes, guys, by now. I keep wanting more. They do some excellent things. They do some really good cool tone things. They do neutral things. They do colorful things. Like, they do it all. And for some reason, all of their eyeshadow palettes are like under 35 euros. And I'm like, how? How? Because it's amazing quality, really easy to work with. I really rate my Cheeryep palettes. Now this one is currently out of stock, so that's a little bit of a shame, but it is still listed on the website. This kind of goes into the neutral category as well because this is a neutral color story, but I'm picking this one for the shimmers that this has. Having a good palette with all the fun shimmers, I mean, it just takes the cake. Do you need a palette though? That could be debated. We could also do this as like fun shimmers as singles. I'm actually doing a shimmer series here on the channel, so if you want to know like what my favorite shimmers are in different categories, like of different color categories, then you can check those out, and I always include a couple of my singles. So you don't need a dedicated palette to shimmer shades, you really don't. You could buy these as individuals, but individuals tend to be like, if you look like per pan, a palette is going to be more cost effective. If you know like, okay, I really want a holographic silver, and you buy that from one brand, and then you're going to buy like a pinky blue flipping shade, and you're going to get a high shine like taupey brown. Buying 3 of those shades individually could be as expensive as this palette, because this palette retails for around 40 euros. Over here, of course, you would have to pay for shipping fees. Glossgods, this is the first gal on Jupiter by Glossgods. They are a Swedish-based indie brand, so again, not very easy to buy depending on where you're at. For me, it's okay. Again, I very often buy their palettes when they have sales on, and then I essentially get free shipping with the discount. Like, I will pay for the palette what it costs at full price, including shipping, because of the discount. That's usually how I do it. There are some good mattes in here too. I really like the mattes in here too, but it's giving you like all the like good shimmers as well. It has some like I don't even want to call them basic shimmers because they're not basic. Like, these are all really foily metallic shimmers that you're getting in here, but it does give you the special things with like some duochromes and even a holographic shimmer. So I do really enjoy this one for that reason. I think Glossgods, again, does some excellent palettes. I have a bunch of them. They do some interesting color stories. I already mentioned the Let's Get Nude as a really good warm-toned option, but they just do some wonderful things. The Neutrals Remix is a really good neutrals palette if that's what you're looking for, also with some multi-chromes and fun shimmers in. They do some good things, and they've done some old shimmer palettes in the past as well, so if you're looking for something that has old shimmers, Glossgods does those from time to time as well. I don't think they have an all matte palette though. If you want all matte, I would go Viseart. They do loads of like different like all matte palettes in different color stories as well. I have the Petite Cool mattes, and that's like the baby version of the large palette they used to do. It's the only all matte palette I pretty much have in my entire makeup collection. I don't really reach for all matte palettes. I always feel there are too many mattes in palettes and not enough shimmers. I always want more shimmers. Here's where we get to the fun stuff, you could say. I have 4 like indie palettes left for you. I get most of my indie brand palettes from MONOLITH. I am affiliated with their website as well. I have a code with MONOLITH that you can use to get 5% off your order, which I'll pop up on the screen right here. I'm in the EU, so for me, shopping through MONOLITH made it so much easier to get these palettes. Now, you do have to bear in mind, because MONOLITH has to import these things, if you compare the euro price of the palette to the dollar price that you can find on the websites for these brands, you are, I think, always paying in euros what you would pay in dollars, but of course dollars are cheaper than euros, so they are marked up a little bit. But I really have found with MONOLITH that it really depends on the brand how much you pay for it compared to the US. The way the math works in my brain is that getting 2 palettes from MONOLITH and then get free shipping, because very often if you buy just 2 palettes, you get free shipping, because I think MONOLITH has free shipping across Europe if you spend over 100 euros. So that's usually how it works in my brain. Getting 2 of those brands, like 2 palettes by 2 different brands, getting free shipping through MONOLITH is in the end cheaper than buying those 2 individual palettes from the brands in the US. I used to, before MONOLITH existed, buy brands that I'm showing you here today from their websites directly. But since Brexit, or even like buying things from the US with all the tariffs and things that are going on. Things have gotten even crazier, I feel. But I have in the past paid for indie brands palettes almost double, sometimes even 3 times the amount of money for, like, compared to the original like price point of the palette. So a 35 euro palette was 90 euros after getting it shipped to me. Because a lot of indie brands, because they are small, they don't have the opportunity to offer their customers abroad like free shipping over a certain amount of money. And very often these indie brands will have to ship by weight. And that's the reason why it becomes so expensive, especially if you have brands that do like magnetized palettes. The magnet makes the palette a lot more heavier, so you ship by weight, so it becomes very, very expensive. So that's one of the reasons why I like shopping through them. You don't have to shop through them if you don't want to, but that's why, to me, it makes it cost effective, because if Monolith, for instance, I believe this one, the Ocean Jewel by Bella Beauty Bar, I have 2 Bella Beauty Bar palettes actually in here because I love the brand so much, but these 2, I think on Monolith, retail for like 72 or 75 euros, and on the Bella Beauty Bar website, these also retail for like $72 or $75. So then you can think, but $72 or $75 is roughly like 70 euros, so then it's marked up. But if I were to buy both of these at the same time through Monolith, I get free shipping. And buying, like, especially, it works out even better if you buy something else from a different brand, right? But then, like, I wouldn't have to pay for the shipping and handling fees, because getting both of the palettes and then all of the shipping and handling fees and added on top, I may save a little bit of money. And then, of course, if you're buying it from the US, if it's over 150 euros, you're going to be hit with extra taxes even. So that's always something to look for as well, because I think over 150 euros, you're not only paying VAT, but you also have to pay import tax, which is always like, and with how expensive some indie palettes have gotten, I think it can therefore be cost effective to shop through Monolith. But that's just my opinion. It's why I've used them myself in the past. They do send me things from time to time now, so I didn't have to pay for all of these. I think I only got this one in BR. Everything else I've paid for with my own money. But yeah, just know that that's going on behind the scenes. So that's a little bit of a rant about Monolith and why I like shopping through them. But the Poison Garden from Bella Beauty Bar, I already mentioned in another video that you saw yesterday that this really, really put Bella Beauty Bar on the map for me. I fell in love with the brand when I tried this palette. I had already tried other palettes by them in the past, but it didn't make me fall head over heels in love with them. This is murky, grungy, yet colorful at the same time. It could be neutral, depending on how you pair it. So it kind of is like the follow-up of some of the more neutral palettes I've shared, but to not like overwhelm you with loads of different colors all of a sudden, but to have something murky and grungy, I think is a good call if you are looking into buying your first 10 eyeshadow palettes. I love a grungy eyeshadow palette. I could do a video about just my favorite grungy eyeshadow palettes as well. This one would make top of the list for sure, but I have a lot of color stories that fall within that category that have been discontinued. So this is one that I know you can still buy. I checked the Bella Beauty website, it's still on there. So I'm also pretty sure that that means that Monolith will restock it if it's not in stock there. I forgot to check them. But yeah, Poison Garden is still being sold by Bella Beauty Bar, so I think that's a good call and a good addition to, if you were to buy the other palettes, to sort of nudge yourself into a pop of color. But if you're like, but Micah, I don't have that sort of hesitation about using color all that much, Bella Beauty Bar does some excellent colorful palettes as well. The Ocean Jewel. Ah, this is great. This is a heavy palette though, because this is magnetic. You can see the little like wells here. You can easily lift them out, and this is a beautiful purple, blue, and green color story. I love this. It goes together really well with their dark dreamscape, but I made myself pick, and I was like, you know what? Ocean Jewel is going to give you loads of the sort of like turquoisey, brighter pops of color that I would personally want to have in my makeup collection. if I were to invest in my first couple of palettes. We all know I love a blue, green, purple color story. That's like my favorite thing on the planet. And therefore I decided to go with this one. You get a couple of neutrals in here, just to give you something a little bit safe to play with as well. But overall, this has some excellent shades in, and Bella Beauté Bar does really fun, impactful, sparkly shimmers, beautiful blendable mattes. This is for the people who want the pigmentation, who want there to be impactful shimmers that don't necessarily need a finger to apply them. You can apply these with a brush and they will look okay. I always intensify my shimmers with a finger though. I always do. But yeah, this is a wonderful eyeshadow palette. Then the Magnetic Mineralia by Dive Rune Cosmetics. This is a wonderful palette as well, and the reason why I'm selecting this one is also because it does give you neutral options, but then it gives you really interesting sort of different colors that are going to give you colorful looks, but without it screaming, I'm wearing color on my eyes. So especially if you're a beginner, you don't need a rainbow palette. You really, really don't. In fact, I went through the rainbow palette craze. Remember back in the day when every single indie brand only did rainbow palettes? Like, we had a hot minute there where that happened. So I had loads of them. I ended up keeping one because they all give you sunset eyes. Like, that's the only look you can do with a rainbow palette is sunset eyes. So my preference goes out for hunting down the colorful shades that I love. And I know on me, and on me, I know it's blues, greens, and purples. It just is. And this gives me neutrals with a pop of greeny yellow and purples. These yellows aren't as yellow as you might expect because they have this, like, you see how green this looks? It's so yummy. It looks like one of those shades where you're like, is that going to look okay? And then it ends up looking stunning. And here again, we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 shimmers, and every single one of them is this beautiful, flaky, yummy, buttery goodness. Like, this shade here is so, so beautiful. It's this brown, green, yellowy gold sort of flippy shade. It goes into so many directions. So especially if you like your multi-chromes then, or if you want to try that, but you don't want to like fully commit. Like, you know, there are brands that do palettes that have nothing but multi-chromes in. I don't like those palettes myself because I feel it gives me very limited options to what I can do with it. This gives you just the right of mattes and like fun shimmers to play with. And because the mattes aren't all like the same color, it's going to give you different looks every single time, depending on how you pair them. I think they did an excellent job with this. It was my 2025 favorite palette for a reason, of course. And finally, to stick with we also need a couple of brighter pops of color, and these would be my picks, is Cosmic Beauty's Winter Wonderland. Again, a brand where I'm like, you could pick any other of their palettes that appeals to you that is currently in stock that you could go with. One of the reasons why I like Cosmic Beauty though is because they, even though they are an indie brand, their palettes are 20 pans and it's not that horribly expensive. Like the Bella Beauté Bar ones, those are pricey. Those are pricey. They're pricier than what I paid for my Natasha Denona, even though I think Natasha Denona has gotten more expensive too. This may now be, like if you buy it now, I think this is as expensive as the Bella Beauté Bar. But this is under that. This is like 45 euros, which is good. You could buy it directly from their website. It's something I've done in the past as well, but they are also on MONOLITH. But I now shop them through MONOLITH as well because of Brexit. They do have, which I appreciate, a lot of English brands and like websites have actually done this, where if you're in the EU and you shop through their website, they have already added up all of the tariffs and things you have to pay because of Brexit. So that makes it a lot easier. But yeah, this brand was a lot easier to buy before Brexit, let me tell you. Here we go. A beautiful blue, green, purple color story. Again, some fun shimmers. This is going to be bright, vibrant, in your face, but it also has really nice sort of like wintry shades. So I also feel like with this you get like something for every single season. Like there's something that's going to look good on you in the fall time. There are things that are going to look good on you in the springtime. There are things that are going to look good on you in like the winter time and like the summertime and stuff like that. So This is lovely. I understand why they've called this Winter Wonderland. And like I mentioned, because Cosmic Beauty is one of those indie brands that hasn't completely inflated their prices, even though they do really fun things. Again, really pigmented mattes, really excellent shimmers. This is just a really good one, and I have so many of their palettes by now. I think they are an excellent brand. They do a really good cool tone color story. They do a really good warm tone color story. They do fun, bright pops of color like this. They do some more interesting things that are more out there. So no matter what floats your boat when it comes to eyeshadow, I think Cosmic Beauty has a really good variety of things on offer that really you could probably build this entire list of 10 palettes with just Cosmic Beauty palettes, and you'd be happy as well. So those were the 10 palettes that I wanted to share with you here today. I hope I wasn't too rambly. I didn't plan all the rambling in between of like how I like to like source my palettes and stuff, but maybe that's helpful information for you guys as well. But yeah, thanks so much for watching here today. Thumbs up this video if you liked it. This sadly was the last video I will be filming in Eyeshadow Palette Week, but eyeshadow palettes are never very far away here on the channel because I review a couple of them every week, every month for you, and I do go back to older palettes every single month as well. And I try to sneak in eyeshadow palette content at least once or twice a month. Even on top of that, regardless of whether I'm doing a dedicated week to eyeshadow. It's always on my list because I can talk about eyeshadow palette every single day of the week. I already told you guys. So thanks so much for watching this one today. If you do want other content that isn't makeup related, I have a second channel where I post once a week. This one gets 4 videos a week all about makeup. And then my Floating in Books channel, which started as a book channel, but it's turning into more of a fashion thing. I don't know. But yeah, I do fashion on there. I do bookish content. I do vlogs. I do loads of other things on there. And I just have loads of other content that you can also follow. So you can find me on my social media, which is all linked in the description box down below, as are the codes to some of the palettes if you wanted to get any of them. And then I really hope you enjoyed watching this video today. Thumbs up this video if you liked it. Subscribe, and I hope to see you again in my next one. Bye-bye.